Good morning.
Good morning.
So good to be here and to see you all on this beautiful summer day. We are grateful. Joe and I are grateful to be back after vacation, and we're still waiting for some luggage to come back. But aside from that, we're back. We're healthy, happy, and had a good time away. So and everything was humming along here, so we're grateful for that as well. Anyone here for the first time today? Don't think so. So we always have gift bags available, and bags for kids too, with arts things in them and so on. I don't think we have any children either. So good to have all of you here today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you folks for joining us who are listening in online. I always like to announce a couple of things up front in case, since they're usually not on at the end for the virtual part. So big news here, of course, is that next Saturday, July 30, is our annual summer concert. So we're excited about that. It'll be out on the back deck. Right now, it looks like the weather is going to be fine for sitting out in the evening. I'm glad to hear, not too hot. So we're planning on that. We have lots of talented musicians lined up for it. We've got a list going of people volunteering to bring some refreshments for the intermission. If any of you can help with that, add your name to it. We're good eaters at Unity of Delaware, so it's good to have a nice spread of snacks out there. Make sure to bring a lawn chair if you're to the concert, and maybe put on a little insect repellent if you like. We don't spray the grounds around here with pesticides, so think about that. Sunday, July 31st, we're going to be welcoming some new members into the church. Really looking forward to that. A couple are right here in our midst today, and there'll be a few more. I think we have about 5 people. So looking forward to that. It's always a joy to witness and to support those kind of making a full commitment to their spiritual practice. If any of you listening in online or right here are interested in learning more about becoming a member of Unity, just email or let us know, and we'll get you some information about how to do that. UnityDelawareOhio.org is our website, and all that kind of information is right there, and a way to contact us. So thanks to everyone for joining us today. Joe and I are your musicians today, and of course we begin by thinking about going into prayer, what we're lifting up in prayer. Prayers for peace in the world, prayers for healing in our midst, in ourselves, in our communities, guidance and protection for living beings across the globe and for our planet itself. So we're using a very old-fashioned prayer song this morning called Be Thou My Vision. It's a traditional Irish melody, I think.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Be thou my breastplate, my sword for the fight. Be thou my armor, be thou my true might. Be thou my soul's shelter, be thou my strong tower. Raise thou me heavenward, great power of my power. Raise thou me heavenward, great power of my power. Let's allow ourselves to close our eyes and to become even more still
and centered and attuned to the power and presence that dwells in us, that we abide within that power and presence of God that is with us in all situations and circumstances, in all challenges, that abiding presence with us, that is wisdom, that is guidance, that is peace, that is wholeness. In these moments of prayer, we remember that deepest of truths, that God is with us unfailingly, whatever we are facing. This intelligence, this loving power is at work in our midst, in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits, in living beings everywhere. There is no place where God does not abide. We see the power and presence of God everywhere as we learn to look for it, as we give thanks for it, as we praise it. We see the presence of God in our very midst, and we are inspired, and we are steadied and strengthened, and we are grateful. And so it is. Amen. All right. Well, we are talking about looking and seeing today. And so I've been picking songs having to do with vision in some way. So this is an old one by Louis Armstrong called What a Wonderful World. You all know it probably.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Pretty song. Nice, Joe. Thank you. All right. Louis Armstrong would do an "oh yeah" at the end of that, and Joe threatened to do it. So I think so. All right. Well, my topic today was kind of triggered by some things on vacation. We were seeing new things we were seeing and so on. So it's the more you look, the more you see. So of course, I like to have some kind of humor that's kind of in line with that idea in some way. Sometimes it's tricky. But this morning I have some optometrist jokes for you. Seeing, vision, things like that. And I thought a few of these were pretty good. There's a lot of optometrist jokes out there you might be surprised to hear. For instance, how many optometrists does it take to screw in a light bulb? 1 or 2? 2 or 1? 1 or 2. Also, a Polish guy goes to the optometrist, and the optometrist shows him the usual vision chart, you know, the kind with like C, Z, R, N, H, K, V, Z, and he says, "Can you read this?" And the Polish guy goes, "Read it? Heck, I know the guy." I like that too. Went to the optometrist office today and bumped into an old friend. Also bumped into the optometrist, the receptionist, and knocked over the sunglass display. Why do optometrists live longer? Because they dilate.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good middle. Let's see. The optometrist told me I had Gary Larson disease. I'm farsighted. Farsight. You remember farsight? Okay. Finally, what did the evil optometrist say? They'll all see. I thought it was kind of silly. Optometrist jokes. I think my favorite is 2 or 1. 1 or 2. So the more you look, the more you see. It's triggered by the idea of, I'm an Ohioan, you know, by birth, so I've spent very, very little time around the ocean. Some of you probably have more experience being on coastal areas, but so it was new for us. We were in British Columbia this past week, and we were it's right along the water, seeing the tides come in and out, and all the creatures and everything. And we started realizing, and we were looking in, the tide was out a little bit, and you could see all these little creatures moving about. And the more you look, the more you see. It's just astounding. You just like lift a piece of wood, and all these little crabs come skittering out. It's amazing. And there's all these oyster shells that you think, that doesn't even look alive. And yeah, it's alive. There's oysters in there. And there's just, the more you look, and all kinds of crabs, different colors and sizes, just amazing. And so I started realizing, that's just an age-old spiritual principle I come back to again and again, that the more you look, the more you see. So we need to pay attention to what we're looking at. The more you look, the more you see. It's one of our foundational principles in unity, and why I come back to it again and again. I've had many, many opportunities to work with that law, as I guess probably many of you have too, because it influences our daily life and what we see and experience every day, what we're looking at. And the more we look at something, the more we're going to see it. This has to do with the whole enrichedness of our lives. Are you really seeing the creation you abide in? Some people look at birds, for instance, and they see 1 or 2 brown birds, right? Other people, from looking, see a good deal more. Joe and I are great bird lovers. We've got bird books. We've taken field trips, so I see a few more. We noticed a number of the birds around here. We saw some wonderful birds in British Columbia, spotted towhees, which we don't have here. Beautiful birds. The Anis hummingbird they have up there. We saw California quail. I don't know what they were doing in British Columbia, but they move around, a little flock of baby California quails. So we've learned to see a little bit more. And then there are some people, like there's a man named Jim McCormick. He has a regular, he writes books and does field trips all the time, gives lectures, he does presentations at naturalist conferences and so on. He sees and hears hundreds of birds. His ear is attuned to them. His eye is looking for them, and he's finding them everywhere. The creation he inhabits, the world he inhabits is awesome, because his experience, he sees so much more than others, because he's looked so much more. He's been looking at birds so long and so intently. His universe is rich. And then there's people who look at a piece of land and they see weeds, a couple of trees, they see undeveloped acreage. I always marveled at that word, undeveloped. God developed it perfectly, in my opinion. I don't know that word development, when I first started hearing it, I thought that the meaning of that is very strange. But there's a lot of people who see that when they see a piece of land. They don't see all the life on it. They don't see all the flora and fauna on it. From close attention to our little acre for 20 odd years, we see a little bit more. We see these wonderful, they call them ephemerals, perennials, wildflowers that come up every spring, an amazing variety of trout lilies and May-apples and any number of beautiful flowers, and the trees and the whole process of a little piece of land, the way it regenerates itself and supports so much life. It's awesome. And we see just a little, and there are others who see so much more, like Nancy Stranahan, the director of the Nature Preserve, Highland Nature Sanctuary in southern Ohio. She was a naturalist with ODNR, Department of Natural Resources, and she's had this nature preserve for more than 25 years now. She sees everything, every tree, every salamander, every flower, every songbird, every stream. She sees it all, and her universe, the creation she inhabits, is vast and awesome. So much of it is in what we're looking at, because the more we look, the more we see, and the more awesome our world becomes. And it tends to kind of push out then the things that are making us miserable. Because if we're looking at things that are making us miserable, and that's what we're looking at all the time, we can get dug into that, but that's all we're seeing. Has anyone been in that space? It's a very human space to be in. We've all been in it. And might be struggling with it these days. It may come and go. It may be something we work with a good deal. So the importance of looking and paying attention to what we're looking at can't be overstated, I think. I was remembering again the books I read learning to read. Do you remember the Dick and Jane books? I just remember them so well. One of the biggest words in the Dick and Jane books was, look, 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 Jane, look, Dick. Whatever it was, that was a big teaching of the Dick and Jane books when we were learning to read, is to really look. It's important. It keeps us safe. It makes us alert to the wonders of the world around us. We have to look. The importance of really looking at the earth we inhabit, at creation, at each other, really seeing each other, at ourselves, really seeing each other, really looking with loving attention, not with disregard or disrespect, but with attention and with caring, to really look that way. I think that's worship. I think that's the truest and most basic form of worship, to really look at creation, to really look at the awesomeness of this God-infused universe. That's worship itself. And as we do it, it brings the benefits of worship, which is a deeper sense of God's presence in our lives, a closer walk with God, and a deeper awareness of the awesomeness of creation that we are blessed to live within. So how do we work with that principle? What do we do if what we're seeing at a certain time in our lives is just making us miserable day after day, that we are kind of stuck in that place where what we're seeing is making us unhappy? How do we work with this law? We have a fancy word for this law in Unity. We call it the law of mind action, or the law of attraction, similar idea. And it's a fancy word for the way our minds work, that the more we look, the more we're going to see of that very thing. The more we're focusing on something, the more we're going to get of that. It's just a way our mind works. There's no judgment about it. It's just the way the mind works. So how do we work with this if we want to shift things in our lives so that we are seeing more beauty, more peace? Well, step one is to realize that we have the capacity to do that. We have the capacity to change how we see, and we've been doing it our whole lives. It's part of our growing up process. It's a part of our evolutionary process. Do you see the world the same way you did 20 years ago? Probably not. Do you see yourself the way you did 20, 25 years ago? I don't think so. And sometimes when we're going through growth spurts or changes, significant changes, that'll really shift how we're seeing others, how we're seeing life, how we're seeing ourselves. I was remembering a friend back in grad school days, I think, and she was doing some pretty intensive therapy work on what she saw as her codependency. She had grown up in a home with addiction. She had a broken relationship with someone with addiction issues, and was doing a lot of therapy at the time, and she said at the time, I'm really clear on it now that really the whole world, everybody divides up into addicts and codependents. Everybody's either an addict or a codependent. That's what she was seeing at the time, because that's where she was in this growth process, this evolutionary work she was doing at that time. That wasn't going to be that way forever, just during that stage. And I think we go through times like that. We're seeing the world in a certain way, and it's always a little limited, and we can always open that up more. So anyway, we need to start with that realization. We can change. We do change all the time, how we see things. And therefore, how we're going to kind of get that flow going of the law of mind action, which is just about, it's about how our energy flows through us. There's a lot of teachings about it. I just want to highlight a couple of them. There's a book by Lynn Grabhorn where she talks about how we are electromagnetic beings. We are walking magnets. Same idea, law of mind action, law of attraction. Whatever vibrations we're putting out there, that's going to draw more of that to us. If they're, it's about like attracting like. So if we've got a high vibratory frequency of joy, of strength, of courage, of peace, it'll attract more of that to us. If we've got a low vibratory frequency of anxiety, anger, resentment, we're going to attract more of that to us. That's where we are. That's what we're looking at. And so we're seeing more and more of it. That's how things flow. We have a tendency to think where we are in our moods, in our thoughts, in our emotions is a fixed thing. We can't do anything about it. That's just how things are. But no, of course we can change it. We've been changing it our whole lives, and we can change how we see things now. So we start with that realization. We have a tendency to think we're already looking at what we want, like a better job, or a loving relationship, or greater prosperity, or good health. We might think that's what we're looking at, but in fact we're really thinking about what we don't want, which is the bad job, the failed relationship, the lack of funds, the whatever it is, the illness. Our focus is really there. That's what we're looking at most of the time. Not good health, exciting job, loving relationship. Sometimes we don't know what we're looking at. In other words, we're unconscious of it. And so it's bringing us more of what we don't want to see, because we're really looking at what we don't want. So we have a long tradition of this in Unity and New Thought teachers in general. Lots of books and writings about this, like the focus is on stop looking at the lack, the loss, the grievance, the anger, the resentment. Get your focus off that and start looking at what you want, and then you'll see more of it. Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth, one of our kind of hallmark books in Unity, she said, there is no permanent outward way of escape from miseries. All help must come from within. Victory must be won in the silence of your own being first. Then you need take no part in the outer demonstration of relief from conditions. It's an inside job. It's an inside job. There's a very mystical and strong teaching from Mark chapter 4, if you want to look at it. Jesus said in this teaching, to those who have, more will be given. And from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. You ever read that teaching? It seems really dark, doesn't it? It seems very judgmental. It seems mean. It's mean-spirited. To those who have, more will be given. And from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. What is that teaching about? As I was looking at it again this week, I thought, he's teaching here. And what he's teaching about is about how things work, how it works, how life works, how mind flows. And it's a teaching about getting on a roll. When you get on a roll with how you're looking at things, you get more and more of that. It's about getting into a groove. It's about the way life unfolds, given this law of mind action. If you're in a place where those who have more will be given, if you're in a place of you're believing in abundance and prosperity, and that's where you are, and everything you have enough of, and there's abundance galore in your life, you're going to have more and more of that. That's what you're seeing, and so you're going to attract more and more of that to you. If you're in a place where you have nothing, you're feeling like you have nothing, nothing is worthwhile, nothing is good, nothing is valuable, you're going to attract that kind of thing, because that's the frequency you're at. More of an experience of nothing. He isn't wishing that on anyone. I think Jesus, master teacher here, was saying, this is how it works. So let's be careful. Let's be careful about what we're looking at and what we're claiming and what we're affirming to be the truth, because we don't want to affirm for ourselves lack and loss and misery and nothingness. We want to affirm abundance, an abundant, vast creation and powerful healing energy flowing through us at all times, and loving relationships on all sides, because we are all connected. So be aware we can change. We can change our focus. We can change what we're looking at. And we've been doing it our whole lives as a part of our growth. Second one is to take some control of our intake, what we're taking in. And that's a multi-level thing, isn't it, these days? Especially in these days where everybody's got their phones out all the time, with all their screen and cell phone time. We're not always being real careful about what we're taking in. Would you agree? I'm often finding I'm taking in things I don't want to be taken into my consciousness. And the social media have learned how to capitalize on the law of mind action. They have learned how to use it for marketing purposes, for profit purposes. They call them algorithms. I don't pretend to understand this, but the way it works is whatever you look at, they're going to give you more and more of it. You're going to see more and more of it in your feed. So if you're interested in chaos theories and so on, you're going to see more and more of that kind of thing. And it comes up in little, but kind of benign ways. Like I clicked on something, I was looking at a new cat litter box that had tall, see-through sides. I thought, well, that's interesting. I clicked on it. Wait, I'm being deluged with litter boxes now. My inbox is full of litter box images. Has this happened to any of you? This is the algorithms at work. It's in their system that whatever you look at, they're going to give you more of it, because then you'll spend more screen time there and you'll see the ads they're running through those. So, this can be benign, but it can also be not benign. It can be damaging. If what we're taking in through our cell phones and our screen time is a steady flow of misery-making imagery and stories, if we're not monitoring it, if we're not taking any control of what's coming in on that flow, we could be taking in a lot of damaging stuff, maybe completely untrue, and it can be very harmful to our consciousness. We might find our whole mood and state of mind impacted by that. So we're walking around in a state of fear, chronic anxiety, anger, whatever it might be. We have to take control of that intake. If you change what you look at in the social media and in life, if you change what you look at, you'll begin to see different things. You'll begin to see different things. And the more you look, the more you see. It's always that way, and that's the way the universe works. It's always saying yes to us. Oh, you want to see more of this? Here, and look at this. They're giving us more of it. Always saying yes to what we want to look at. So we have to take some management control of our intake, for sure. Become more conscious of what we're taking in from the media, but also from each other, from our communities, from our friends, from our colleagues. There's nothing very helpful about letting yourself be vented on without managing it, with someone putting a lot of anger on you, a lot of resentment, a lot of woes, a lot of misery. Sometimes we think we have to be, the nice thing is to let people talk at us with things we don't really want to take into our consciousness. I think we have to manage that too. We have to manage that. We have to pace ourselves. We have to be careful not to take in too much misery in that way. Not just from our news, but from our contacts every day, from our communities. A community that exerts a strong influence over what you see and hear, that's giving you too much judgment or criticism or bias. A community like that can be very damaging to our souls, to our spirits. It'll influence our state of mind to such a degree we might not be able to look at the world with loving attention and get that feeling of awesomeness and beauty of the creation we inhabit. Our perception can be too damaged by that intake, so we have to manage our intake. And then the third step is, know we can change and then manage that intake. And the third thing is consciously look at what you want to see more of. Consciously look at it. Build that into your life every day, every week, whenever you can. Spend time looking at what you love, what you admire, what you find awesome, what you want to see more of. On vacation, sometimes we have a higher tendency to do that. Would you agree? When you're in another country or you're at the beach or something like that, it's like, oh, look at this, look. You're doing like Dick and Jane in the Dick and Jane books. Your eyes are really open and you are really looking, and you can have that experience of wonder. As the more you look, the more you see. There's so much life out there. Creation is so vast, so awesome. So spend time in nature, spend time looking, right? Even in your own backyard, spend some time really sitting and looking and admiring, looking with a loving attention at creation, and see what you see. We saw a black-tailed deer in British Columbia. Have you ever seen black-tailed deer? We have a white-tailed one here. We saw arbutus trees. They have amazing red trunks. Some of you from the Northwest, excuse me, might remember them. People carve out of them. They're such exquisite wood pieces. We saw the supermoon. Did you see the supermoon last week? We saw it over the bay in the Gulf Islands, this gorgeous, huge orange moon. The more you look, the more you see, and the more inspired you will be, and the more awesome you will find the creation you live in. And if you fill your mind with these things, your soul will be nourished by it. It's nourishment our souls need badly, I think, and we need to give ourselves that nourishment regularly, as much as we can, and it will begin to crowd out some of the misery thoughts, some of the other things we've been looking at and seeing more and more of. It will begin to crowd that out, and you'll have more and more a sense of the magnificence of the creation we live in and the possibilities that are so much vaster than we can ever imagine. The more you look, the more you'll see. So let's take that into a closing prayer, if we could, and just close our eyes for a moment and affirm our intention to look at beauty, to look at the wonders of the world we inhabit, to look at possibilities, to look at people doing amazing work in the world, to look at nature, to look at the creatures and the trees and the flowers and the butterflies and the dragonflies and the fish and the arbutus trees, the streams. Look at each other, look at our loved ones, look at our friends with loving attention, with gratitude for the rare and exquisite opportunity to be living on planet Earth and soaking up all this beauty, all this magnificence. How grateful we are for the living power and presence of God in our midst. So it is. Amen. All right, one more song having something to do with seeing, and that was kind of my focus today. It's a really familiar one. You're all going to know, so if you want to join in on the chorus, please feel free to. I think it's a song by Johnny Nash, right?
Yep. Recorded by him and another famous Jimmy Cliff.
Okay. You will know. I can see clearly now. Join us on it if you like.
Audience participation.
Okay. Always okay. It's a Capo 2 song. All right. You always want to get that right, or all of a sudden you sound yourself singing way up here or way down there. You got to get it right.
I did that with Elmer.
Elmer Fisher was still talking about it. Time Joe was accompanying him and forgot to take the capo off, I think. Elmer, the baritone, was up here trying to sing, and we were in performance somewhere. Join us on it.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright sunshiny day.
All right. Little touch of fire and rain at the end there. I don't know whether you noticed that. Nice touch, Joe. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. Now we're going to segue into some announcements in-house. Our board president, Paul Wessner, is going to help us with that. Thank you, Paul.